False Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm John Buhler, staff writer, fansided.com. I'm joined today by a man who ain't going to work on Maggie's farm no more, who thinks the best way to take the power back is to roll down Rodeo, shotgunning beers, so long as Coach Biff is the DD driving Gator to some White Snake. Here I go again on my own. Born of a broken man, but not a broken man. Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com. Here's something you can't understand: how he could just be a Yams. How are you?
Dude, good man. In this white snake scenario that we're painting out here, are you Tawny Katan on the hood, just shaking it around, waving your hair in the wind?
I mean, we both have long hair, but I think mine's a little bit closer to red than yours, so I guess it has to be me.
Hell yeah! I mean, look, man, sex sells, and that's what we're trying to do here on False
Yeah, I
Start.
mean, I've also wanted to hit Chuck Finley too.
Who among us has not, man? It's I think it's just a part of the human experience.
Could you imagine if he was an angel in the outfield, like actually on the team, Chuck Finley as himself?
Would love it, honestly. Like with all the cameos that are in Angels in the Outfield. Speaking of, we were just talking off air about movies that we should watch. Angels in the Outfield's a good candidate too, man. That movie slaps so hard. Yeah.
JP's coming too.
JP's coming too.
What's it? Maggie is the foster parent.
Yeah.
Academy Award for My Left Foot with Daniel Day-Lewis. Shout out coming back. He's coming back out of retirement for a good reason, apparently. I didn't read why, but he is.
I did not know that. So that's you're breaking news to me on the podcast at least. And shout she's also the pigeon lady in Home Alone 2. So, really illustrious career.
I mean, there's a lot of people in that movie like Macaulay Culkin, his brother, the Kieran. I think that's his name. Yeah, the other one, the one who got Fuller, the
Yeah,
bedwetter.
Fuller. Oh yeah. He can't have the Pepsi before bed, bro.
He's only little. Tim Curry and somebody else, and this is
Rob
false start.
Schneider. Rob
Yeah,
Schneider's like the bellhop.
Rob Schneider, get your bags. All right.
Oh right.
I'm a carrot.
Oh my
Yeah, this episode's going to be really dumb today. Obviously, we're going to be finishing up with some Just Like Novocaine with Rage Against the Machine, Cody's choice. We've been wanting to do this one for about 3 weeks now, but we forgot that, Floyd was beforehand and we had to pivot pretty quickly. We've got a few
Mhm.
more ones on the docket for future episodes. We're going to possibly do Kansas,
Mhm.
Rush, and maybe Fat Boy Slim. That would be interesting too. Journey, yeah.
Oh yeah, we're getting into it. We're getting deep into the catalog.
I know it's going to be absolutely ridiculous, but we're going to start today here at First and 15 after fall, starting a little bit with some we do more than shoot hoops and turn left. This is going to be a very interesting week here in week 6. There's not really a signature game. There's two that stand out. One's at noon and one's at 10:30, and the one at 10:30 is the one Game Gay's going to with the number 8 Miami Hurricanes going to the California Golden Bears. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, just your classic ACC matchup across the country. I mean, we've seen this matchup 100 times, right? No, it is one of the things we talked about with ACC's realignment is, how are these teams going to manage these cross-country trips that just frankly they haven't had to deal with before? And you look at Miami, and it's an interesting spot for them because obviously they're riding high. Obviously, they look like the class of the ACC, but this is also the sixth straight week that they played. They haven't had their bye week yet, and now you're having to make a cross-country trip to go play late night at Cal. I will say it probably does. Like I made a joke like negatively about this earlier in the week, but I do think like it probably works in their favor a little bit that Mario is from the like her spent time in the Pac-12 on the West Coast, so like he probably knows a little bit about how to keep these guys comfortable to some degree. So that could help them a little bit, but it's a tricky situation because the other factor in this is this Cal team is not bad. Like it's a good Cal team. So like they're not going on the road to play some pushover. It's a team that could absolutely cause them a little bit of trouble.
Totally. I completely forgot about the fact that Mario had coached in Oregon. Obviously, Danny Martinez played at Oregon State. Cam Ward spent 2 years at Washington State. So we've got, again, a lot of very Pac-12 vibes going into this game. I think
Hmm.
Miami having an extra day to essentially get over there
Yeah.
is help, but I hope they fly to Oakland as opposed to the quiet airport in San Francisco because it's going to be like it's like the joke I have about like James Corden fighting in Nam. He's like, "Is this when we're supposed to be quiet?"
I will say, man, I've flown into the Oakland airport before, and it's a fine airport. There's nothing ostensibly wrong with it. However, I had the worst cup of coffee in my entire life at the Oakland airport. It was like, I'm not a coffee snob. Like, I will drink Folgers. I do not care. I could not finish this cup of coffee because it was so bad. It tasted like they just made it with dirt. It was horrendous.
It's a Oakland Coffee Company, founded by Mike Dirnt, featuring Mike Dirnt.
I think it was founded by John Fisher, just given how cheaply it felt like it was made.
I always tell the Arizona State podcast, like, yeah, we can't really buy Old Day Fear the Gap anymore because this guy's so evil, all of his hair left him too.
He's like truly like we talk a lot about bad sports owners in our line of work, and it really doesn't get worse than John Fisher. It truly, truly does not.
There's some really, really bad ones out there. I mean, James Dolan at least puts money into things. I feel, you
He's an
know,
idiot, but yeah, like he puts money into stuff.
uh, I mean, Clark Hunt wins, but he's cheap too. Mike Brown, he was born an octo, basically, is the way
Oh, yeah. And I mean, let's not forget my boy Jerry. Like, it's been 30 years of futility.
I mean, there's a lot of people like living in the past in the 90s, Bill Clinton and Jerry Jones, and this is false start.
Woo pig suey, baby.
And to be totally honest, Third Eye Blind. We're going to the land of Third Eye Blind here too for this.
That's right.
I was making sure I was going to remember this too. So, like, Mario Cristobal, he's going to be your crystal ball in the land of Third Eye Blind.
Will it be a motorcycle drive-by? Tune in on Saturday night late.
He's going to try to take the high road, but he doesn't know where it is. This game, all year long, I picked Miami going 11-1. This is the game I picked them to lose. I think you
Mhm,
picked them losing to Duke
mhm.
initially. This is like, we'll talk about this later. I don't even know if this is a trap game, but like, it smells like ammonium. This needs some smelling salts for this to stay awake.
So I would have called it a trap game if things didn't play out against Virginia Tech the way they did last week. Because like going into that game, I think everyone's assumption was Miami's just kind of gonna dog walk Virginia Tech based on how the Hokies were playing, and obviously that didn't happen. It came down to the final play of the game and a very controversial replay call. They made the right call, to be clear. The process was stupid as hell, but they ended up at the right spot. But I do think that like that can serve as a wake-up call to make this less of a trap game because like you kind of got the dud effort out of the way in a game where you shouldn't have had a dud effort because like that's a rivalry game as you mentioned on Monday. That's a rivalry game. That's a game that's super important to them. That's a game that they needed to show up for and they didn't. So like that's something that in an ideal world, Mario Cristobal is messaging to this team like, "Hey, we can't have letdown weeks. This is a team that if we have a letdown week, they can beat us. This isn't Cal of a couple years ago where even if you have a bad week, you're going to be okay. Like this is going to be a tough game, tough trip for us to make. So like I would have had it as a trap game, but now I feel like Miami is going to be more locked in than it would have been.
I think that's fair. I think, it's a rivalry game with Virginia Tech. I mean, that's a
Hmm.
big thing. I think there's also the factor too, the Cal Oregon component of it too. Again, Oregon is Justin Wilcox's alma mater. And
Hmm.
that was the job that Mario took over, after Willie Taggart just job hop. And I'm sure Justin Wilcox would cut off Jaden Zachott's hand to be the head coach at his alma mater. Maybe Fernando Mendoza. He didn't play very well versus Florida State.
Yeah, he wouldn't sacrifice Jaden Zaka.
No, but it's like, Mario left. And it's like Justin Wilcox, like, can I just go to Oregon? I could win a national title there. I'm of the belief if Justin Wilcox was the head coach of Oregon, he would have a national title at some point. I just feel like he would want that so, so, so bad.
No, absolutely. And like I mean, you look at what, we're not as high on Oregon at this point in the season as we were coming into the year. But I mean, you look at what Dan Lanning has done with this program, and like Justin Wilcox would put the same investment in there. Like, I think we talked about Justin Wilcox more than a lot of coaches at his level of the P4, probably. Like, he's probably top dog in terms of who we've talked about the most because we respect him that highly. Like, being Cal has never had like necessarily a huge pop year under Justin Wilcox, but they've been consistently good, consistently frisky, consistently better than they probably should be. And that's a testament to how good of a coach he is.
Absolutely. So sitting there, I'm thinking about this game. Um, what are the chances there's some protest that goes on during game day?
I mean, one of my favorite things I've seen because the Cal AI engine on X/Twitter still goes very, very hard. And someone said, I can't wait for the Cal photo or for the Cal AI of Lee Corso putting on Karl Marx's head for the headgear pick. And of course, someone came through with that AI image, which will be burned into my brain forever.
So Cal's mascots, it's Oshi, I think, Oshi, I think is
I,
the Bears name. That sounds right.
that sounds right. Let's see. Oshi Bear.
Yeah.
Cal Golden Bears.
Yes. This is better on
Oski,
a
Oski,
Oski,
OSKI.
Oski. Okay, Oski, that's better than OSHA or whatever you call But like, watch Cal be like the one school that's like, yeah, we're just not going to comply. You can't put this on your head.
Oh, of
You
course.
no, absolutely not. Are you kidding me? Kind of crazy. They never went to Cal when Tedford was there. Either
Yeah.
that's particularly, I guess the Pac-12 was just Pac-10 was just that down at that point.
Yeah, probably it is. I mean, it still feels like at some point this would have happened before, but shouts to them for getting this game. I would I would venture to guess that if Cal had not made the move to the ACC, then a game like this probably wouldn't be on there. Like, obviously, they probably wouldn't be playing Miami if they were in the ACC. But point still stands. Like, if this was Oregon at Cal, we probably still wouldn't be getting this game. Like, I think it is kind of an intriguing spot because they made the move to the ACC. So, maybe it does work out for Cal to move. We haven't been high on the move from Stanford and Cal, maybe a little higher on SMU moving to the ACC, but I do think that like if this is going to be the benefit, the ancillary benefit of it, like it's going to benefit the athletics program. Like this is money that's going to be funneled into there.
Precisely. I think again, College Game Day, ESPN property. ACC is an ESPN property.
Yep.
Duh, this is what they want to do. So I guess the last little thought I have before we move on to our next topic. Do you think Mario is going to Pier 39 to hang out with the San Francisco Seal Lions?
I'm hoping we get a Jim McElwain-esque picture of Mario Cristobal hanging out with the Seal Lions.
He, he is the Buell of aquatic beasts.
That's right.
We're,
Oh my God.
we're just playing twist here. What do you think we're doing?
It's a game. What are you talking about?
Dude, they got this Lotus Biscoff cookie sandwiches over there. These things are great, but I gotta hang out with my friends first.
One of my friends drew up a great play. Mario, this just says we all jump into the ocean and dive for fish. Yep.
Halfback dive. Yeah.
Yes.
Next last little thought. We talked about like Marshawn Lynch possibly calling plays. Obviously not, but like he would just call run and he would only call run plays for his Mountie Skittles in the sleeve. Could Marshawn Lynch calling the offensive plays for Justin Wilcox beat Miami in like the Mario of it all game? Like they just run. Lynch Marshawn ball, just run.
I mean, honestly, considering the best player on the field for Cal is Jaden Zach Ott, yes, that might actually work. We might not be in a bad spot. Speaking of, have they announced the guest picker? Is it Marshawn? And if it's not, why is it not Marshawn?
Who else would it be? Tony G?
I literally don't know. I can't think of anyone else that would be like. I feel like everyone is like thinks it's so obvious that it should be Marshawn that like anyone else is gonna piss everyone off.
Well, I mean, if you go like, okay, maybe you go get a former Celtics, or you get Jalen Brown. He was there for like a year.
Yeah.
If you go on the music side of things, maybe get Adam Durst with Counting Crows, and everyone's like, that's not you. You got rid of your dreads. Or you go and you get Steven Jenkins. He just rambles the whole time. I, I know you're looking
That
at
would
me.
be good. That'd be really good. I mean, I'm sure in an ideal world, considering he does have a working relationship with McAfee, they would like to get Rodgers. That's not going to happen. He has a game on Sunday. So, like, we know that's not going to be in the cards. So, like, it just seems like Marshawn is the obvious pick. And I'm going to be pissed if he doesn't pull up to do his segment in the cart like he drove around the cow field.
He's gonna swear every pick. It's
Oh,
gonna be.
for sure.
Oh, I like the picture of him like when he was when he was a Caltech, Oakland Tech High School, and then they had like the student picture day. He dresses like a nerd. So little do they know. Well, he also is kind of a nerd too. It's a weird. Like Marshawn Lynch is just better than me in every facet of life. I've always after interviewing him, like, yeah, he just is. It's fine. It's cool.
I
Don't
mean,
worry about it.
he's one of those extremely special people who just he's he's just he's just the guy. Like he's the light in our world that we really need in these times.
He is a true Renaissance man.
That's right.
And I don't know if either of these teams are led by Renaissance men, but we're going to do some do Haas with our next topic. Cody, I think you presented this to me, so I'll ask it to you and we'll see what we go here. Is the loser of the other game of note between Missouri and Texas A&M effectively eliminated from the college football playoff? Missouri's undefeated, have a really weak schedule. Texas A&M has one loss to Notre Dame in the conference.
Yeah, I'm gonna go do Host with one S because I think like with Texas A&M, I'm pretty sure about it. Like the Notre Dame loss is looking at least a little better than it did the week after when Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. Like Notre Dame seems to have righted the ship a little bit since that point. But the one thing Texas A&M can't afford is to lose another game, especially with the schedule they still have remaining. Like it is a tough schedule, tough slate they still have. And I think that the fact that they're also still at just, at the bottom of the AP top 25 right now tells me that this team isn't totally respected. And like I think that the big question is there, okay, you made the switch to Marcel Reed. Your offense has looked marginally better, but you haven't necessarily like shown that you have an extra gear, that you haven't there's still doubts about the offense, I guess is the easiest way to say that, the cleanest way. And so I think that if you go out and you lose to Missouri, I would suspect that it's probably going to be because your offense couldn't put up enough explosive plays, put up enough points. Because Missouri, although I do expect them to be slowed down by Texas A&M, they're still going to score. They have more bites at the apple to get explosive plays, even against this Texas A&M defense. So, like on the Texas A&M side of thing, I think it's pretty sure that we're going to happen. Missouri is a little bit more projection, but you mentioned they have a soft start to their schedule. They have a tough finish to this schedule. And so if you lose this Texas A&M game, you're getting yourself off on a bad foot before you go in the back half of the season and you play at Alabama, you play Oklahoma at home. You have to go to South Carolina, which looks like a lot tougher game than we thought coming into the year. And same with the finale against Arkansas. So like even if that is in Columbia, like that still looks like a much tougher game than you thought coming into the season. And we're also, you factor this in, they're coming off nearly losing to Vanderbilt, which I feel like in the AP poll, they're almost treating that as like half a loss. Like they're not giving that as like an actual win. So like if you lose this game, that's not going to set you up for success and you're going to be playing behind the eight ball. If you were to make the playoff, you would need a lot of help after that point, especially with how I think some of those results on the back half of the season are going to go for them.
I think that's fair. Had to lower the blind there. I was getting blinded by the light.
I
You
get
know,
it,
like
man. Hey, it happened.
if this was just strictly audio, it wouldn't have mattered at this point. But like, yeah, just it's the time of day. Recording a little bit slightly later than we normally do. This is about when we wrap the show up. Now we're starting because car things. Here in my car, you got to go places, and Chick-fil-A, dollar store, yeah, life, off day, life. We work on our off days because that's what the the starters require. Yeah, that's what we're calling y'all people.
That's right. The starter, the line
Uh,
judges.
the line judges. Uh, Car almost didn't start at the Chick-fil-A parking lot. And I'm like, oh no. We just get hers back, and it's like, not today, Satan.
You will not bring me down today.
Clearly I'm stalling because I don't know of how to answer the do host or do host questions. It's a yes or no, Bueller. Like it's not that hard. But logically, it's Duhast one S. I think emotionally, it's Duhast two S's. And let me try to
Mm,
explain. So with Texas A&M, if they drop a second loss, again, they would have one in SEC play to Mizzou and one in the non-conference Notre Dame. Again, both quality losses. But at that point, you're going to have to win out,
Hmm.
and you're going to have to beat LSU and Texas,
Hmm.
period. At 10-2, with assuming Notre Dame and Mizzou are playoff caliber, you may get in, but it's going to be really close because I don't think 10-2, although it's 10-2, 7-1, maybe you get to Atlanta, but you're probably going to be finishing fifth. And at that point,
Hmm.
it's too unrealistic. I would say that's how I feel about with A&M losing. With Missouri, if they lose this game, it's going to get bad because
Hmm.
they've got outside of Alabama, they got really nothing. Again, you said the schedule's harder, but at this point, I mean, they've been pushed around by a decent Boston College team and a good Vanderbilt team. And Missouri, I think, probably has the softest schedule outside of Ole Miss of anybody in the SEC this year.
Hmm.
And you're looking at it with Mizzou, it's like, okay, you're 11-1, you have to get in. I'd probably take Indiana for them at 11-1.
Yeah, I mean, like Indiana's schedule soft as Charmin. Let's be clear. Like they have Michigan and Ohio State, and no one else that's good on that schedule. So like, but that's what Missouri's kind of facing as well. You know, it does get tougher, but it is that. But I do think that my counterpoint to like the 2S side of that, the emotional side of that, is I think if you lose this game specifically, it tells us a lot about what these teams are because I fully expect Missouri to win this game. Like I'm picking Missouri to win this game for sure because I just think they're a better team. And I think the other thing about Missouri is I think the Boston College and Vanderbilt games caught them by surprise a little bit. I think they thought this was kind of going to be like Oregon, where they had that ramp up period where they didn't really have to show anything and they put everything vanilla on the field before they got to this game where, it's your first high level competition that you're going to see. So, kind of keep things play it close to the vest for 4 weeks and then come in and unleash everything against Texas A&M. Well, if they lose this game, that tells me that my perception of that completely wrong. My perception of that was misguided, and Missouri just doesn't have that extra gear that we thought they might have. So I'm going to doubt Missouri on the back half of their schedule because if you can lose to Texas A&M and M and you don't have that extra gear, there's not a top half of the SEC team that you can't lose to. Like that's the way the SEC is constructed this year. It's actually a much deeper conference than I think we expected coming into the year. So like when you look at South Carolina and Arkansas specifically, those are losable games if you can lose to Texas A&M in my opinion, because I don't think Texas A&M is that good. On the flip side of that, because I don't think Texas A&M is that good, if they come out against this Missouri team and they still can't move the ball offensively, then I'm going to keep thinking that, and I'm going to think that this back half of the schedule where they have LSU coming to visit, where they also have to go to South Carolina, and where they have Texas coming to town, I just don't have the faith in Texas A&M to run the gambit in that schedule. Like mathematically, absolutely yes, it is possible, but in terms of the optics of what I'm going to think about either team if they were to lose this game based on my perceptions coming in, that's kind of why I come down on 1S because I think a loss would be really damning of whatever team loses this game.
Maybe just to put a number on this, I think A&M's a 2-point favorite at home in this game.
Hmm.
Pick 'em essentially, sort of, however you want to do it. If A&M loses this game, they've got like a 3% chance of making the playoff. If Mizzou loses this game, they've got like a 10%
Yeah,
chance of
I think
making
that's
it.
right. That's probably about right. Yeah, it's not no chance, but it's definitely a low chance.
So, I mean, it's pretty much like, I mean, it's like 10% chance of rain every day out there. Is it going to rain every day? No. uh,
Atlanta in the summer, baby. Let's go.
it's like growing up. It's like, are we gonna have a white Christmas this year, Dad? Well, it's like a 3% chance of snow. We did one year. It was crazy. It was wild.
Oh yeah, dude, absolutely. Like I'll never forget. I was still living in Asheville in North Carolina at the time, and the NC State podcast was the Georgia Tech podcast at the time, going down there and still living in Atlanta. And so we were doing a little bit of the long distance thing, and I was driving down there, and it started snowing in Atlanta, and she was in the lab doing some work, and I was at the bar drinking because what else am I gonna do? And I don't know anyone there at that time, so I'm sitting there at the bar drinking, eating some chicken wings and I see it start snowing. And I watch the drivers of Atlanta prove to me that I will never drive in Atlanta in the snow because ain't a damn one of them know what to do.
No, you know, you thought it was a $6 cafe. It was another $5 cafe. It was a $3 cafe because inflation's real. Groceries cost a lot of money.
That's right.
Good old North Side Drive.
Oh, dude, absolutely. What a legendary spot. That was before the Quick Trip went up there. That was, back in the dark ages.
Oh yeah, dude. Snooze wasn't there, and the hot chicken thing.
No,
Yeah, it wasn't even West Midtown at that point. It was like the other side of tech.
really legitimately. Like once you got past the what is it, the Rocky Mountain Pizzeria down on 10th
Yeah,
Street, like once you got past that, it was just like Tech West Midtown campus, basically.
like in Civil War geography, like that area was the area was just bombed to, or just bombed to S. Like that's where,
Yeah.
like all the stuff you see, like the house that's like blown out and stuff, like all the palisades and the spikes. That's just right there. That's where that is.
Yep.
So yeah, every time you're out there, like you're clearly walking where somebody died 150 years ago, and this falls down. But
Think about that the next time you go get pizza at Antica.
F that place, man. They weren't even open for lunch after the aquarium on 30th Rosie. I was really offended. That place can rot in hell.
Dude, I don't even like their pizza. I think it's highly overrated.
No, no, they're not good. Never going back. They're just refusing to do it. It's like a guy in my high school who talked every day about The Departed and 300, and I will never watch either of those movies because I hate him. He ruined them for me forever in 2006.
Hey, fair enough, man. I get it. I have a buddy who very different movie than those two movies, I will definitely say, but I think for probably about 5 years now, he's been trying to get me to watch Call Me by Your Name with Armie Hammer and Timothy Chalamet or Chameleon or whatever you want to call him. But he I he's told me about it too much. I don't want to watch it. I'm never gonna watch it.
I love Stetson Bennett, but I don't like the Winklevoss, that fine young cannibal.
Fine Young Cannibal indeed.
Oh my God. But yes, going back to Mizzou, Tamu, like they're kind of rivals. I mean, they were in the Big 12 and they came to
Mhm.
the SEC at the same time. They initially played each other. It's the Mizzou Tamu.
Mizzou Tamu. It sounds like a new whale that they got at SeaWorld.
We wanted a seal line. You gave us a whale. Are you kidding me?
It's Mizzou Tamu, Bulldog.
What's its blood type? Petroleum?
Petroleum. BP.
Story time with Bueller. So like I look at Missouri and Texas A&M like rivalries. Like okay, Missouri was in the Big Eight, A&M was in the Southwest, and obviously they merged in like '95, and they played in the Big 12 for like 25 years or so. But A&M was in the Big 12 South, Missouri was in the Big 12 North. Again, they didn't play each other all that much. They probably played like maybe 10, 6, 8, 10 times when they were conference foes. Now it's like, oh, y'all are tight. This is the oh we're really bros now rivalry.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like we have like two dogs, like different breeds. I mean, maybe it's like you're brothers. Are we? I don't know.
Are we really? Yeah, they yeah, they're brothers in name only and their last name, and that wasn't their last name before we adopted them. So
Yes. Which to move on to the next thing, I'll just say this. So Huron Williams, he is not only is he a Hufflepuff, he's a Missouri graduate, and Remus Williams, the Slytherin, he's Giga baby.
he's Gig'em for sure. Yeah, he would definitely be yell leader.
Yeah, later. That's good. Bull going to the bonfire. Let's go get it.
That's right.
I don't know if you get it from the bonfire if it's burning, but we're gonna come to you live from Eric Crouch's couch. Yes. This is gonna be a lot of fun. This is very interesting. We're doing like our first month Heisman ballots. Again, we each don't actually vote, but we're gonna vote here. You can only put 3 people on the ballot, and then we'll project if there's a fourth or fifth person going to New York. Talk a little bit about this off air. This is gonna be shocking because I think we came to the same conclusion a month in. I'll let you reveal yours first.
Yeah, so my ballot starts at one. I'll start with one because it's not really dramatic at this point. It's Jalen Milroe. Like Jalen Milroe is the Heisman winner if the season ends today. Don't like. I heard someone mention this the other day. And I believe it was Trevor Sikkema on NFL Stock Exchange, works for PFF, but he was saying that well, first off, he has him now as QB1 in the 2025 NFL Draft class, which I'm not far behind him on that one at this point. But he was saying that he expects Jalen Milroe to still have some duds. I'm not even sure I'm at that point with what I've seen. Like he may not have the game that he had against Georgia against top level competition moving forward, but I don't see Jalen Milroe having an absolute dud like what we saw against Michigan last year in the college football playoff, like that type of game. I think he's leveled up from that. But Jalen Milroe is clear cut number one. Number two, I'm going with Cam Ward from Miami. Don't kind of the same Jalen Milroe thing. Like he is playing quarterback at a higher level than anyone else in the country, and that's both his arm and with his legs. It's quite impressive to see. We've seen him revitalize a Miami team that we were had a lot of questions about coming into the year based on the track record of Mario Cristobal at that place. Then number three, it's our boy, man, Ashton Genty. That's who I have as my number three on my ballot. Like, dude is on pace to rush for 3,000 yards this year and 39 touchdowns. That's absurd. That's just the most absurd thing I've ever heard. And like, I don't care if you play for Boise State. Boise State is still my pick to be the Group of Five champion. And as long as that stays on track, it's going to be because of Ashton Genty, and it's also going to get Ashton Genty the national love that he deserves.
I'm I'm pretty much right there with you across the board. Okay, first off, Trevor Sikkema, when it comes to evaluating quarterbacks this year, it's like Jonah Hill, just like it's like
Yeah.
You had Connor Wegman one. Like there's clearly five. I would probably have Milrow two or three right now. That's
Yeah,
about
he's
what
up
I'm.
there.
Unfortunately, I think Quinn Ewers is five just because of injury concerns right now. That's what I. That's kind of where I'm at. I think I probably put Beck one, Milrow two, Sanders three, Ward four, Ewers five. It's so fluid. Like it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
like they're
those
all
five, but like I whatever order you put them in, it's really hard to argue at this point because like Beck's had a little bit of a past couple games have not been what we wanted to see from Carson Beck, particularly like the second half against Alabama was good. The first half was not. Like the first half was quite scary if you're an NFL team. And on the like, Cam Ward, yes, he's looked great this season, but and kind of same thing with Jalen Milroe. Like we also saw last season where there were a lot of holes in your game and a lot of mistakes that were made. So like we know that that's still in there, and we still have a lot of season left to play. So you're kind of and then Shador, there's the Shador of it all. And like you said, with Quinn Ewers, there's injuries. So like there is a lot to unpack between these prospects between now and the end of the season, and specifically before the draft as well.
for sure. So just before we review my ballot, so we've said okay, Beck is like Stroud. That's a pretty good comp. Yours is like Herbert or Stafford or Bradford. It's that's that. Shador's Geo Smith, and I said Milrose Lamar Jackson. I have no idea what Cam Ward is. Do you have any comp for him?
Cam Ward, he reminds me. You know who he kind of reminds me of? And he is a little more polished as a passer at this point, and he's obviously a smaller guy than this, but his play style reminds me a little bit of Josh Allen.
Okay.
Just in the fact that, like, I think his best plays are when he's like using unorthodox footwork, when he's moving around a little bit and creating a little bit with his legs. And that's not even talking about like him taking off and running, which he's obviously capable of, as is Josh Allen. But I'm talking about like when he breaks contain or when he gets out of pressure, that's when I think he's at his most dangerous. Like I think that's like Josh Allen seems to thrive on that. Like you can see like a glint in his eye whenever he like breaks contain and he's able to do something like improvisational. And I think Cam Ward has a little bit of that. Like there's a little more pep in his step when he's able to get into a play like that.
It's a hard comp. I like that. I think maybe size wise, maybe Justin Fields is the best comp for that.
I like that. Yeah, I think he has a little more. The one thing about Fields that I think is a misnomer because of what he looks like with the Bears and the Bears offense is as a prospect, like Fields didn't take a lot of risk, and Cam Ward's
No.
not afraid to take risks. That's why like I like the Josh Allen part of it, but I do think like maybe like a hybrid of Josh Allen and Justin Fields. Like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, with Shador, we've said like, okay, it's Gino, it's Cousins, it's Little Mayfield there. That's kind of
Yeah.
again, this is all gonna work. These are all guys that would go like first round. So like there's nothing there. So we'll go my bad. Um didn't did I freeze there for a second?
You did freeze. Yes, we're good though.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you froze too. This is perfect. Yeah. So Jalen Milroe is my first choice. I feel stupid for not picking him to win the Heisman at the start of the year when I've been saying it all offseason. I feel like an idiot. So that's fine. Yeah, Jalen Milroe is one. Number two, I've got Ashton Genty. And the
Hmm.
reason I've got Ashton Genty there is because I want to spite my third pick, Cam Ward, mostly because I want to spite Gino Toretta for winning the Heisman in '92 and preventing far better players like Garrison Hurst and Group of Five stud before that was even a thing, Marshall Faulk from winning the Heisman, even though they were better.
Hmm.
So, and again, Cam Ward played really well, got tested a little bit there versus Virginia Tech, but I think those are the right top three. And the fourth guy I bring there is Travis Hunter, and that's it.
Same. Absolutely same. So we have the same four going to New York because I'm not going to put Travis Hunter on there just because I think that by end of season, particularly, Colorado is not going to have the record for Travis Hunter to win the Heisman. However, there's no denying that Travis Hunter deserves to be in New York. And it's like it starts with the playing two ways. Like it's still ridiculous that you're able to do that in the year of our Lord 2024 playing college football at the pace that these teams are playing at now, at the level they're playing at now. Like this is almost different than what we saw with Charles Woodson, guys like that of yesteryear, Desmond Howard, like playing different roles. Like he's doing it at such an advanced degree right now, and also at two premier positions that are quite tough to play, quite frankly. And so like the fact that he's able to do that is impressive. And the fact that he's able to be a top five or 10 player at both positions in college football is just remarkable stuff.
Absolutely. It's also this is how we're gonna be smart about this. There's a precipitous drop off after four. Like there's no fifth pick. Like
Hmm.
you want to put Beck there, you want to put Iamaleava, you want to put Gabriel, you want to put Dart. No, like Rocco Becht, he's as good of a chance of getting there as them at this point. Like that's how it works. Like when there's a voting
Yeah.
drop off like precipitously beyond like five or whatever after three, it's like we're just gonna cut it off there. And that's kind of where it is. The fortunate part is we've got 2 months left of the regular season to figure all that out. But I'm kind of legitimately shocked a month in that we only are sending four guys to New York. It's the same four.
No, it's definitely not where I thought we'd end up, especially because coming into the year, I think we both thought it was going to be a pretty highly competitive, like kind of like guys getting snubbed from New York. And right now, it doesn't really feel like that. Like right now, it feels like those four, and then, like you said, a drop off. But I do want to ask you a question off of that. If when you look, I'm looking at the odds right now, and so after you drop off from those top four, which are our four are the four favorites as of right now, we have Dylan Gabriel, Nico Iamaleava, Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, Miller Moss, Cade Klubnik, and Carson Beck as the next in the odds. If you had to pick one of those guys that's going to be the fifth guy to go to New York by the end of the season, who would you pick for that?
Right this instant, it's Nico Iamaleava. That's who I would go with. I feel that like Nico, Tennessee is better. Will Howard still has not quite gotten it going. Tennessee's playing a lot of primetime games. I mean, like we're going to be going live 3 yards in a cloud of punt after Tennessee, Arkansas. You've already beaten Oklahoma. You've already beaten North Carolina State. So the teams looked good. At that point, you still got to play Alabama and Georgia. Tennessee is going to be in a lot of really high profile games. It's a fun, exciting offense. He may not be ready for it. He's my pick to win the Heisman next year. But
Mhm.
like, I just kind of feel that like the opportunity for him to assert himself there is a little bit more. It's not like well, Beck has opportunities too, but Beck has to kind of dig himself out of a deficit, so to speak.
No, 100%. And I think Nico's the right pick, especially because like I think Dylan Gabriel has the opportunity. I don't have the faith in Dylan Gabriel to do it. I do have the faith in Nico to take advantage of those opportunities. The one I'll offer a different answer, and it's not a surprising answer, but it is a different answer than Nico. I think there's a chance Quinn Ewers could still get to New York. I don't think
Really,
there's a chance he can win the Heisman at this point because of the injuries and the time missed. But he's like, when you just back up and look at this in a vacuum, what important game did Quinn Ewers miss? Like he missed stat padding games. Like he missed UL Monroe and Mississippi State. Like is that like that's not going to move the needle for me. If he comes out and he beats Oklahoma, he beats Georgia, he beats Texas A&M, he beats the meat of Texas's schedule after already beating Michigan as badly and playing as well as he did in that game. If he goes out and he stars in those games, Texas goes 12-0, there's definitely a world where Quinn Ewers gets enough national love to where he's going to New York. And it's not like, again, I think that there's no chance he could win the Heisman. With Nico, I think there is still a chance that he could go to New York and win the Heisman. Like that's the difference between Nico and Quinn Ewers. But I do think that there is still a world where Quinn gets to New York.
I think that's fair. I will say though, if he ends up on someone's ballot, like the third vote, it's abundantly clear like someone is clearly unanimously going to win it at that point. Like it's just become
Yes.
like there, if it's not going to get bunched up like this, it's like you're basically going to need like Ashton Genty, Cam Ward, or Jalen Miller, or somebody else is just clearly running away with it, like we saw with Lamar Jackson, like back in 2016. Like it needs to be that.
Well, I mean, if Ashton Genty runs for 3,200 yards and 39 touchdowns, he might do that. So,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Any other thoughts about the Heisman before we move on? I still think it's gonna be a fascinating race because it's not it changes a lot. It was Cam Ward up until this past week, and it might
yeah.
change again. It may remain Milrow. I think it's great that like there's so much unknown. There's so much left of the season to be played. It's the most interesting season to follow because so many teams are still in it.
No, there's so many teams still in it, and like as I just mentioned with Quinn Ewers, like there's so many teams with the meat of their schedule and like opportunities for Heisman moments still remaining. Like, Quinn Ewers is going to have multiple times to put himself on display. Same with Nico. Like, he still gets to play Alabama. He still has the Florida game where he can go out and beat a rival really badly. Like, there's a lot of opportunities for Dylan Gabriel. Again, I don't have faith in him doing it, but they still get to play Ohio State. And, like, if he comes out and balls out in that game, that's going to vault him right back into the Heisman race. So, like, there's still a ton of opportunity for these guys to not just, like, there's obviously still half a season left, but on top of that, there's the big Heisman moment type of games. And also on the flip side of that, there's the moment, like there's the opportunity for some of these guys to slip up. Like when I was talking about Milrow and what Trevor Sikkema said, like there's still the opportunity for Jalen Milrow to have a dead game. I'm not that confident it's going to happen. But same there with Cam Ward. Like we saw at Washington State with Cam Ward, like there were some games where he got really loose with the football and put Washington State in some bad spots. We haven't necessarily seen that outside of like maybe like a quarter and a half against Virginia Tech. Like we haven't totally seen that type of poor performance from him. So like those opportunities are still there for things to get really shaken up down the stretch.
Totally. I think this is a huge advantage of playoff expansion and realignment. So it's like really concentrated. It's like every game in like conference play is magnified even more because
Yeah.
like you can still get in or you can mess up and stuff like that. But it's like everybody's schedule gets beefed up except for Missouri's in some capacity. But there's four Power Four conferences. You had four guys going to the Heisman ceremony. I've got four, so we're gonna do some 4-4-4 with brainchild of yours, because your brain was thinking and stuff. Um, we're each gonna pick a game that smells like a trap game, and each Power Five, Power Four conference this week. They're all trap games with Beavers and Cougars, man. Those things are trying to kill you.
That's right, 100%.
So let's start with the ACC. What game smells like a trap game to you this week?
So I'm actually not going with a ranked ACC team, but it's a team that's close to being ranked. Pitt going to North Carolina. And to be clear, I think North Carolina is terrible, even as a North Carolina fan. Like, this is not me gassing up North Carolina, but Pitt is riding high. Pitt has to go on the road to Chapel Hill. North Carolina and Mac Brown have had Pitt's number in the past few years, and I do think there's a chance that Eli Holstein, who I think has impressed me this season, I'm still not like all the way there believing in the young man. So like I just think that Pitt is due for a dud. I think that this is the type of game where you go on the road, you're a pretty hefty favorite. I believe you're a double-digit favorite. Like things could get a little tricky for you. And I don't know, like you have your bye in a week and a half. So like it feels like a tricky game, and Pitt comes into this game at 4-0. And the one thing I've learned about Pitt is that Pitt is gonna pit. And like a 4-0 Pitt going into a game that they should win on the road is a spot where Pitt almost often, like, or very often loses. So like I'm highlighting that game because Pitt's a team on the fringe of the top 25, and this feels like the game where they just blow that and shoot themselves in the foot.
I mean, I think I had them going 4-8 to start the year. Everything they've done at this point is gravy. But you're absolutely right. It's also wild. They haven't played a conference game yet, but like I said, too legit to quit.
That's right.
That one's great. I almost put that one down. I mentioned Cal at Miami a little bit there. It's not really the same sort of thing, but traditionally that would be it.
Mhm.
But I think it's a more obvious trap. It's been pretty well premeditated. Hey Mario, don't fall down Taiwan Hill.
That's right. Don't
Marshawn
go
will
woke.
don't go woke. Marshawn will run you over with the gator.
That's right.
So I had that one, but the other one I have SMU over Louisville. I feel that like
Mhm.
Louisville might let Notre Dame beat them twice. SMU's one loss. Who did they lose to? It wasn't bad. Like I'm trying to think. It was they
Who
beat
did they
TCU, which
lose
is
to?
good. Almost lost to Nevada. I'm trying to think. SMU. It's off the top of my head. Tamu to smooth football.
To
Smooth
BYU.
football.
They lost to
Yes.
BYU.
And BYU's 5-0, one win better than I thought they'd be this year already.
Yeah.
So like that could be a game where Louisville like lets SMU beat them because I feel like that's potentially in play there. But ACC's wild. We don't know anything. All we know is Wake's terrible.
Wake's terrible. And I honestly like I didn't pick Louisville for the trap game because I think SMU with Kevin Jennings at quarterback might just be straight up better than Louisville. So like I'm not entirely convinced that's not the case.
I think that's fair. Moving on to the Big Ten. Who's your trap game?
So I think the obvious one is probably Ohio State, Iowa, but I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to go with Michigan going on the road to Washington
Yeah.
because to me, I still don't believe in Michigan, man. They still can't throw the forward pass, which is a problem. They let Minnesota hang around and claw in, and Minnesota is bad. Like, I just talked about I do not have faith in my North Carolina Tar Heels. North Carolina beat Minnesota, and that game wasn't very close, or was close at the end, but like when you look at success rate and stuff like that, it wasn't actually that close. Like North Carolina was the much better team on that day, and Michigan was flirting around with them, and they're still a top 15 team. Like, I don't know. I'm not convinced of this. I think that Washington, we know they're well coached with Jed Fish. This offense with Will Rogers has actually looked a little more frisky than I thought. Like, I'm not a Will Rogers guy, especially after what he showed me at Mississippi State, but he has progressed a little bit. He's not just an air raid king. Like, that's not what he's entirely about. So that's impressive to me. I think that with the warts that we've seen from Michigan's defense, on top of the fact that the offense consistently puts the defense in tough situations, I think that, and when you look back at that Michigan-Minnesota game, one thing that really stood out to me, Michigan had two touchdown drives that were under 20 yards. And like, can you bank on that every single week?
No.
I don't think so. And especially now that you're traveling across the country, going to play at Husky Stadium, a very tough place, a very tough environment to play. It's going to be raucous because they're going to show up for a ranked Michigan team coming in. I think that that's a really tricky spot for Michigan to be in.
That was my pick too. Everyone's like Iowa over Ohio State. No, I
Iowa
don't buy.
sucks, man. I'm
I,
sorry.
that's not happening. Washington over Michigan was my pick too for a couple of reasons. One, the four players that are still there from last year, they remember losing the national title to Michigan.
hmm
They're coming off a pretty tough loss where a lot didn't go right for them, losing a last second field goal attempt or whatever it was to Rutgers. Jed Fish is still looking for like his first signature win at Washington. He kind of needs it. It's across the pond of dirt, and Michigan kind of seems to get fortunate with like a bunch of really short drives to score rushing touchdowns. I think Will Rogers has the ability to throw the ball, unlike Alex Orji, and if they were to spread him out, if they could protect him a little bit better, and that remains to be seen. Washington usually has pretty good offensive line. I mean, what they won I think last year they won the what's the Notre Dame blocking
Joe
award?
Moore?
Yeah, they won that. So like, there's probably enough line meat there to protect Will Rogers. I think that's. I almost kind of feel like I don't know if I'm going to pick Washington to upset Michigan, but that's pretty close. Another one I have is I think Rutgers is going to get Nebraska.
I like that. I also like that. On Stacking the Box College Football Edition, that was my upset pick this week. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of more of like Matt Rule's about slogans and stuff, where I think just Greg Schiano's about ball. Greg Schiano has Rutgers playing with a lot of confidence. They're undefeated. I think they're 4 or 5-0, whatever. They just beat Washington. They beat Virginia Tech in the non-conference. They're playing. really well at this point. 3-0 in the non-conference. I think Nebraska is still trying to figure out how to win. Seasoned veteran defense. A lot of guys are the Scarlet Knights are back.
Mhm.
You've got a true freshman quarterback who thinks he's Patrick Mahomes, doesn't know who he is. Nebraska doesn't know who they are, um, but Rutgers knows exactly who they are. They're the garbage men of the Big Ten, and we love it.
No, absolutely. Like the reason I picked them to upset Nebraska is honestly, there's not a ton of statistical numbers that really back that claim up, but it's a pure vibes because when you look at Rutgers and why they've been successful and like what their identity is, the garbage men is absolutely apt because what they do is they want to dirty things up. They want to make it mucky. They want to get you into like a fist fight, basically. Like drop the knives, drop the guns. We're gonna fight fisticuffs here. And the one time we've seen Nebraska in that situation this year was against Illinois, against Brett Bielema, who likes to do the exact same thing in a game where he knows he might be at a little bit of a talent disadvantage. Rutgers is going to be at a talent disadvantage, but they know with the experience and discipline they have how to muck it up. And at the end of that Illinois Nebraska game, we saw Dylan Raiola look completely over his skis. Like he was absolutely like uncomfortable, as was the offensive line as well. So when we've seen that situation play out before in a game that got mucky, it's hard to really have faith in them, especially with a team that wants to live in that muck like Rutgers.
We're the muckrakers. When you get mucky, you get lucky, and this is false start.
That's
Yeah.
right, baby.
Moving on to the Big 12. This is the hardest one to pick. This is all over the place. Who do you got for this league?
So I went with the one ranked Big 12 team playing this week, and that's Iowa State taking on Baylor. I don't have
Yeah.
a ton of faith in Baylor, but Baylor has looked a little bit better with Sawyer Brown at quarterback since making this change from DeQuan Finn. They've been a little frisky. They obviously haven't gotten it done, but they pushed BYU to the limit. And like you said, BYU's a 5-0 team, looking like a potential winner of the Big 12, or at least going to play for the Big 12 title game in the Big 12 title game. Excuse me. But I do think that like they are playing better in this Iowa State team. The one thing that gives me a little bit of trepidation, we both had them as the Big 12 representative in the college football playoff on Monday when we were like did our updated brackets. But my one bit of trepidation when it comes to them is I don't know if they have another gear. Like I think that they know what they are. They're a very good, well-coached football team, and they have a good quarterback in Rocco Beck too this year has been very good at not making mistakes, not breaking anyone's back. And I don't expect him to do that against Baylor, whose defense I still don't think is that good. But in terms of like, if Baylor is able to score in this Iowa State defense and make it a close game, I don't think Iowa State has the gear to step on their throat. And like that worries me quite a little bit in coming into a matchup like this.
I had Baylor, Iowa State too. This I don't, it's not like a 11 a.m. local kick, but there's a certain component there where like there's a chance Iowa State could overlook Baylor. Everyone's like saying, "Oh, Iowa
Hmm.
State, are they the best team in the Big 12 right now? We're thinking playoff. We got Rocco Becht." Uh, Iowa State, they're a defensive-minded football team. They win with defense. They shut out Houston, didn't score a lot of points. That's the kind of game that Baylor can win because a good defensive-minded head coach and Dave Aranda, they can kind of sneak up on them. Baylor, you said they are playing better since making the quarterback change. Uh, this has the potential to kind of be Ole Miss losing to Kentucky. I would be
Hmm.
very, especially at home because for the clones. The other one I had there is I think Texas Tech can get Arizona.
I'm excited for that game. That's gonna be second screen while Cal Miami is on late night. There's not going to be a lick of defense played in that game.
Yeah.
Not a bit. So it's going to be quite fun.
So my thought with this is it's like there's a chance that Arizona could be overlooking Texas Tech and what would probably now be a very good regional rivalry there in the Big 12. Obviously, that was a
Mhm.
big reason why they wanted the Arizonas to give Texas Tech somebody a little bit more closer to their time zones, travel purposes, so to speak. But you're right, no defense whatsoever. But like Texas Tech's kind of figured out Arizona's one loss is to, I believe, it was to K-State, but it was in the non-conference, so it doesn't
Yeah.
count. So like,
They got
and
their brains
again,
kicked in that game, though.
yes. So like they're still undefeated. And with Arizona has a very soft Big 12 schedule. Like they got to play
Mhm.
Colorado. That maybe and they already beat Utah, and at that point, like what UCF, West Virginia, Arizona State, like it's a lot of Houston's and TCU's on there. But like I said Arizona could actually make the playoff with their schedule and stuff. it was Texas Tech that puts that thing on life support there, and there's a chance the Red Raiders might get. I'm not counting on it, but like it's within the realm of possibility.
No, I've said this many a time in, writing upset picks for college football. Like in a game where you don't have faith in either defense, like and you're expecting a shootout, it's anyone's game. And like that's cliche, but it's the truth. Like if you're just trading scores, the cliche of whoever has the ball last honestly holds true because like if neither team can get a stop, which we literally just saw Texas Tech do this last week with Cincinnati. 44-41 they won. And like I think Arizona's offense is better than what we saw from Cincinnati. So like this game could be played in the 40s and like it literally could come down to one mistake, one break, one big play, whoever has the ball last. Like that's the type of game we're looking at in this one. So like I definitely think it's a trap spot for Arizona.
Yeah, you have some great games on TV while we do the show on Saturday night. It's going to be great. You're like,
That's
oh my
right.
God, what's going on here? Finally, let's go to the SEC. Who do you have for on upset alert or this league?
There's no shortage of where there were shortage of options in the Big 12, there's no shortage in the SEC this week. But I don't know if you're going to have this one, but I'm going with Tennessee at Arkansas because first off, Arkansas has been much better than we thought they were going to be. Little worried about how they finish games because they haven't really shown the propensity to do that. Their two losses, they both had
No,
chance. They
sir.
could This team could very well be 5-0 right now, and they just can't finish a football game. So that's tough for them. But Tennessee's going on the road. They've got to go play at Fayetteville. We know Fayetteville's a tough environment to play. Like I think one of the more underrated college football environments in the country, not just in the SEC, just in the country as at large. And Tennessee's coming into this game. Do you know what Tennessee's schedule after this game happens to be?
They really only have two challenging games after that. That would be Alabama and Georgia, from what I recall. Like this is like the third and like most likely upset. Like this is the one like they will probably lose one of those three games. It could be this game.
They could, but so Alabama, they play on October 19th. Very excited for that game. Cannot wait. But before they get there, they welcome Florida to Neyland Stadium.
Yes, that was that.
And
Yes,
they're going to beat Florida. I am not worried about that, but that is a rivalry game, and that is a game that they are going to be focused on and making sure that they beat the absolute dog piss out of Florida when they have the opportunity to have such an upper hand on them. This is a look ahead game because of
yes.
that Florida game. And you're going
Mhm.
on the road to play a tough Arkansas team that is better than you thought going into the season. That's a tricky spot for Josh Heupel to have this team in, specifically with a young quarterback in Nico Imaleva, who we both have like full confidence in, but we also we haven't seen him in the raucous environment that he could see. And if this game gets hairy, we don't know how he's going to react in that situation. So like this is a spot where I'm probably not going to have Tennessee picked as an upset pick, like or Arkansas picked to upset Tennessee, but I do think it is a likely like it's not an unlikely outcome. Like I think the makings are there for that to happen.
I think with Tennessee, Florida being in Neyland, makes it even more so because if this was in Gainesville, they'd be really up for that. It's like because they can't win in Gainesville for some reason. It's like Auburn can't win in Athens, and they're not going to. So clearly that's not going to be a game that we're going to be talking about here. But yes, that was my number one choice for this. You pretty much covered everything that I would say there very well and very succinctly. I will add one other wrinkle to this. I got some flack from Vol Twitter about this in the Oklahoma game. There were plays there with Nico where it just felt it was a little too big for him on the road.
Mhm.
Like he looked very inexperienced. Granted, Oklahoma's got a pretty good defensive front seven, but like when I saw that, I'm like, that's why you're going to lose to either Georgia or Alabama, possibly both. And that I don't know if Arkansas can take advantage of that. But you mentioned the Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium crowd, like that could play a factor into it as well. It's just like you walk in there, you're like, what the F is this? There's a bunch of people wearing foam pig hats doing woo.
And the other part of this that I do want to bring up, and I forgot to in the first part, is when you look at what Tennessee has done to this point, obviously been very impressive. Obviously have two nice wins, going on the road to NC State and beating the absolute brakes off of them. And then even though it was only a 10-point game, I never felt like the Oklahoma game was in question. Like it felt like it was pretty comfortably in the Vols' hands for most of that game. But when you look at the five teams that they have beat, or excuse me, four teams that they beat going into this game, this is their fifth game of the season. Arkansas is probably the best offense that they played to this point. And you have Bobby Petrino, who got his own list of problems, but one of his problems is not being a good offensive coordinator. He's a damn good offensive coordinator. And so, like, I do wonder, like, we've talked a lot about what makes this Tennessee team kind of like the apple of our eye a little bit and kind of like have a higher upside than we really expected is how well this defense is played. I am curious on the road in this environment against a good offensive coordinator, against a unique player in Taylon Green in the back at quarterback for Arkansas. Does the defense still live up to that hype? Like, or do they take a step back, especially if they are taking their foot off the gas a little bit in the look ahead spot? So like I'm curious to see what Tennessee's defense looks like in this game.
Totally. I've got one more game before we can move on to our penultimate topic. There's a chance South Carolina could beat Ole Miss. That's the other one I was
I
like.
had that one as well. That was my secondary option. So I'm with you.
So follow me on this. It's not necessarily Kentucky beating them twice. Again, that's the most crushing. It's the second most crushing loss we've seen in the playoff picture besides Oklahoma State losing to K-State, because Oklahoma State's the best team that's mathematically eliminated pretty much at this point.
Hmm.
I mean, I think there's only 16 teams in the Power Four that I could definitively say is crossed off. Like Stanford's not quite. Like it's teetering, but it's not there yet.
The math doesn't math quite yet.
And they love math over there for sure.
That's right. They love math more than football, I think.
Hell yeah. What are the chances think Troy Taylor goes back to Sac State if Sac State goes to the Pac-12? He's like, you know what? I'm just gonna do that. This is ridiculous.
Hell, I would. God almighty. You know what you don't have at Sac State? You don't have any academic restrictions. That's for damn sure.
Can you breathe? Well, welcome, brother.
They got a higher acceptance rate than Ole Miss. Damn.
I read somewhere like I think I saw somewhere UTEP is 100% acceptance rate.
I don't know if you've ever ran through El Paso, but there's a reason for that for sure.
I
No
like looked at
offense.
it. It was like the highest acceptance rates of any school, and I think like the I don't want to put anybody on blast, but there was like five that were like in like power or FBS level. Uh, UTEP and Kentucky were like shockingly very high. Everything else was like, you know, Southern New Hampshire Online University.
Shouts to the University of Phoenix.
We rise with you, and let's raise our tuition. I'm not going anywhere. Just fine, just take our money. This is a South Harmon Institute of Technology.
That's right.
Dude, did you know Justin Long's like 47 years old? That's shocking.
First off, he's perpetually 25, so I don't know what you're talking about.
He's same with Anthony Kiedis, that's why he needs to play him.
That's right.
Hey, guess what? California. Where have you ever been to California? I'm gonna write. We'll do some Red Hot at some point.
I once did hard drugs in California.
Have you ever done them under a bridge in California?
That's
There's a bear inside of me in California. You better get that checked out, bud. But yes. So follow me on this. I'm workshopping this thing on in my mind right now with South Carolina. One of the things that I think makes Shane Beamer a successful coach, very polarizing, is because how he talks and
yeah.
how man loves the sound of his own voice. One of the things that will give him power here to stay in South Carolina is he wins something I call red coat games.
Mm.
And when your opponent is like the George Cornwallis Redcoats, like walking, marching down the middle of the field, looking like just thinking they're going to have a program win, that's when South Carolina goes like guerrilla warfare on you and beats your ass. That he did that to Clemson, he did that to Tennessee a couple years ago. Obviously, they went out there, they played, they broke Hendon Hooker's leg, but they were fired up beforehand and knew they're probably going to win that game as is. It was like they were looking. Kentucky, or not Kentucky, South Carolina wins that game. Like they
Hmm.
beat the crap out of Kentucky, who beat Ole Miss. And there is a chance that Ole Miss may redcoat it a little bit with Jackson Dart, who's I don't know what he's doing a Saturday night, Friday nights, besides not going to church. But yeah, that could be a redcoat game for South Carolina.
No, and I mean, you go back to that Tennessee game. I just want to say this because I've seen South Carolina fans get very defensive over the Hendon Hooker injury game. The Hendon Hooker injury did happen late in the fourth quarter. Like South Carolina was going to win that game regardless. So like, let's not like I'm giving the Gamecocks full credit for that win. It wasn't just Hendon Hooker's injury. They came in and won that game, which I don't think you weren't giving them full credit. I just wanted to clarify that point.
No,
Just
that's yeah. I would say like that game was pretty much in South Carolina's control at that point. But like when somebody just thinks they can show up and beat South Carolina, they don't. Like LSU thought they could, they almost lost.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I think in this game specifically, the reason it was my second choice is you look at what Kentucky did to Jackson Dart and the Ole Miss offense to have success. They beat them in the trenches. They brought it up front and they got after them. South Carolina's a better defensive line. They have a better front seven. Like this is going to be a tougher challenge for the Ole Miss front to handle, to protect Jackson Dart, to be able to run the ball. So like this is a much more talented South Carolina group, top to bottom. And I think probably even at the top, like I think that the high end talent they have. So like I think that this South Carolina team is going to be able to replicate a lot of what Kentucky did, especially when you think about the quarterback run game that Ole Miss struggled with a little bit when they put Gavin Wimsatt in to kind of relieve Brock Vandagriff for Kentucky. I think we could see a lot of that. So like I think this is a very similar recipe to what we just watched happen last week.
I think so too. It's South Carolina. When we bring up our friend, he doesn't call him bulldog, he calls it pollo because that's what it is, chicken or rooster. So we're moving on to the Antonio Banderas Bowl. We got to recap two games and then say where we're going. So we have not talked about what happened with uh, Floyd a little bit, with Antonio going up there to the Mall of America with Floyd. Uh, Saw something happen with PJ Fleck. That's not looking good. And then Cody obviously went to Laramie for Air Force Wyoming without me, and he's going to explain why I couldn't go. And then we're going to be going to Gainesville for UCF Florida this week. So let's go to Minneapolis. Antonio told me that, like, yes, Bulldog love Snoopy.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard like a change in his voice, but I tried to tell him, well, first off, we already talked about. We had the conversation that pigs and bulldogs, those are two different animals. Like we can't be mixing those two up. Um but then informed him, he was like, well, what's a pig? And I had to explain what a pig was, and I was like, bacon, pork, ham, that all comes from a pig. And so he thought he could just eat the Floyd of Rosedale. And if he sounded a little different on the phone when he was talking to you from Laramie, it was because we had to go to the dentist. He chipped a tooth on the Floyd of Rosedale trying to take a bite out of it. And I was like, that's not how this works, Antonio. And he said, no. And so like it was a bad time. So yeah, and then we went to the dentist and PJ Fleck was also there. And let me tell you, I've never seen a man cause a stink in a dentist office the way PJ Fleck was, because Antonio got to go in there before him. That sweater vest was stretched because he was just fighting mad over it, and it was a really tough scene. And I gotta tell you, I don't think Antonio wants to go back to Minneapolis after this.
No, I don't think so. That would explain it. I don't think he told me that you went to the dentist because I saw PJ Fleck in his canoe. His sweater vest was all over the place, and he was trying to be like the coxswain, whatever, trying to get people to go. But everybody got off the boat, and somehow there was enough weight in the back to counterbalance it. But he was just rowing the boat. And on the shoreline of the Mississippi River up there, there was a wood chipper, and
Thank God I hadn't taken a sip of coffee yet.
it wasn't like Steve Buscemi, but like the front of the front of the canoe got in there. And remember Mr. Adler in South Park, yeah, from Antonio's neck of the woods, where
Yeah.
he's lying down there on the wood shops, and he's like, "Boy, I gotta turn it. Oh my God, that would hurt like hell. Oh my God, that would hurt like hell."
Oh my God.
So either the canoe or PJ's and the wood chipper at this point, yeah, uh, it's not looking good.
In the words of Antonio, porque no las dos.
No, yeah, we're not going to go back. It's a permanent no for as long as he's there until we get Bulldog, until we have to see something else is up there. Thank God next year Floyd's in Iowa City, so we can go there.
That's right. Yeah, he doesn't have bad vibes in Iowa City yet. No bad vibes in Laramie either. Let's be clear about that. Laramie, we're sorry you missed it. There's apparently some government restrictions in Wyoming that says no Buellers allowed. I don't really know what that all that's about. You might have to unpack that a little bit for me. Antonio was curious as well, but yeah. So we got to Laramie, and I was like, okay, we're gonna watch the football game, and he looked out in the distance, and as fate would have it, as there are in Wyoming, there was some bison out there, and he just said bulldog, and I said, damn it, because I knew exactly where this was going. And I don't think Antonio watched any of the football game. I found him riding a bison, and thankfully he didn't get mauled. I think they may think of him as one of the pack now, so that's an interesting development. But if we lose Antonio, I think our next move has to be going to Yellowstone and just like checking the fields full of bison because there's a chance Antonio might just be grazing with the big bulldogs out there in Wyoming.
So, off the record, or we'll say it on the record now because this is being recorded live, because this definitely happened. um, so no Buellers allowed. Apparently, my dad, when he went elk hunting that one time, apparently shot a elk that like belonged to Troy Calhoun's family,
hmm
and there's a vendetta from the Air Force Academy, some top secret bulldog.
hmm
And somehow Troy Calhoun made a big stink to Jay Sawville. It's like, you are not letting this Kurt Cobain lookalike come into my stadium. And you lay that on me. You basically said, like, yeah, this is a Troy Calhoun initiative. Jay Sawville would have you, but that's why.
Yeah, and it's the thing when you I mean, I know Papa Bueller didn't mean anything by like, it's just an elk hunt. How are you supposed to know? How are you supposed to identify the elk through the scope of, oh, that's Troy Calhoun. So like, I get it. Like, no fault on y'all. I think they're being a little bit harsh about it, quite frankly. But, that's what happens when you piss off a service academy. Like, whether or not it's justified or not, they have the power to ban you from the state of Wyoming. Maybe not anywhere else, but the state of Wyoming for sure.
I mean, I always wanted to go to Nikola Tesla's house out there that's probably doesn't exist anymore. I don't know if it was real, because the Prestige. Got to do a Prestige themed episode or something.
Absolutely.
But when you shoot Big Moon Calhoun, you're gonna have a
Oh
bad
God.
time. This has been dangerously close this whole episode.
Hey man, I slept, but this is because I slept in. This is still my first cup of coffee, so like I'm trying to get it down, but it's been difficult. I've been fighting.
And it's been difficult to get it down. We've been fighting with Billy Napier. He's been trying to keep his job there. So we're going to Gainesville. And obviously, that's how I was able to convince Antonio to come back. I said,
Mhm.
Florida man. And he's like, I'm Florida man.
Florida men. It's Florida men this week, baby.
So he zipped up his man suit, which was a tuxedo t-shirt, and some jean shorts, and he boarded a plane.
He's definitely wearing some Birkenstocks too. I didn't get a good look at him, but it's definitely some Birkenstocks.
So we know he thinks Gus Malzahn's an alien. I think most people do. No one can be that enthusiastic and love running that much unless you're like, one of those millions of Jeffries who run on the belt line weighing 140 or 6 feet 140, those gangly pupe head looking Fs.
They got the broccoli top, man. It's
Dude.
their air, so they're aerodynamic
And the worst part is that's Antonio from Under the Bridge with Barry Badgenath.
for sure. Oh my God.
That's a little last looking Florida bin you got there.
Oh my God.
He dresses like he's from Florida too, which is the best part.
Yeah, oh, 100%. That's another Florida man in training.
Florida man across the pond to LA. Living
That's
his
right.
life. But we don't really know much about Billy Napier or really that like what Antonio thinks. Antonio says that, I think I could open a water bottle for him because Bulldog.
Oh yeah, no, Antonio is I've never seen him as empathetic as he is towards Billy Napier. I'm not sure why they have such a kindred spirit, but he really just seems like he wants to help Billy Napier. He said he was going to try to save his job, and I said, Antonio, I think it might be beyond saving, my man. And he said, no. And so I was just, I it was a C no or Bulldog, and he gave me the no. So he thinks he's going to be able to save Billy Napier's job again. Not quite sure that's going to happen, especially with the Gus bus running through.
Yes, there are two places that I don't think we've gone to yet, and this is one that Antonio he was really excited. That's how I got to convince him to go. When they play Tom Petty's "I Won't Back Down," he says he's going to wear the Zorro mask and Z the F on the field because Z better than F.
Bulldog.
And he really wants to go to Jones AT&T Stadium and do that. Ride the horse there as the Red Raider because he is Zorro. But obviously the field's painted black because it's a cooktop and you can't see everything and the tortillas are cooking. But Antonio, you're gonna melt because you're made of plastic.
But he'll go out with the way he wanted to with the tortilla.
The man, he's like, I'm gonna. How are you gonna die? Just being snuffed by a tortilla.
Hey man, there are worse ways to go for sure. Love a good tortilla.
So yeah, looking at I have really no feel for UCF Florida. I think it's gonna be the stupidest game of the week besides Cal Miami.
I think that my feel for it, and like I wouldn't even call it, this isn't a good feel by any stretch of the imagination, but like, we talk a lot about like, okay, what are the likely outcomes? Like, what are the likeliest outcomes for this game? The one outcome I'm pretty sure isn't going to happen is like a big Florida win. Like, I don't think that's necessarily in the cards. I think there's a world where UCF absolutely could blow out Florida. I think there's a world where UCF wins close, and I think there's a world where Florida wins close. But like the one outcome I don't see is a big win for Florida, just because I think everything we've seen from Florida to this point tells me they don't have the juice.
Yeah, it's not. It's for whatever reason, like it's not gonna be a Florida blowout. I think they're gonna win. I
You
feel
do?
like they're
Okay.
gonna. I feel that Billy Napier is gonna be able to like say we got an SEC win over Mississippi State. We had a bye. USCF is like, thinking they're going to be winning the Big 12 and they just lost last week. You can't let little brother come in here and win. This could be like a rallying point where Billy Napier has a chance to save his job. And I think that like he staves off elimination for a little while longer. It'll be something like 20-17 Florida.
Yeah, I can, like I said, I definitely can see a close Florida win. I'm probably picking UCF in this game, and I think I'm picking UCF pretty comfortably, just because I think that the one thing that really concerns me about Florida right now is their defensive front, like their front seven and specifically the defensive line, just isn't getting a push at all. I don't think UCF's line is special by any means, but I do think that Gus Malzahn knows how to take advantage of a unit that isn't like capable of necessarily pushing anyone around at the power four level. So like I think Gus is just going to have stuff dialed up to really attack this defense in ways that they're not going to have a lot of chances to stop. I think like 34-21, something in that range, I think is probably where I'm leaning for this one.
I think that's fair. Wheels. All I know is Antonio. He's gonna be more into the action and the Florida girls than he was with the Bison.
Oh yeah, he's not backing down, that's for sure.
Don't come around here no more.
That's right.
I don't know if you need to don't come around here anymore, but come with it now with some just like Novocaine. Yes, we're gonna do a pistol grip pup here with some Rage Against the Machine this week. Cody's choice. We've delayed this 3 weeks, and we cannot wait. Let's start with not the octaves, but the octaves with some Bulls on Parade. Better, 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 better.
Burner. So Bulls on Parade, I am going with Rutgers, Nebraska. And I know it's a game we've already talked about talking in 444, but I'm going with Rutgers, Nebraska because, like I said, I think Rutgers is going to ugly this game up. I think they're going to make it ugly, and fistful of shells. I think that's kind of what it's going to be. It's going to be a bloodbath, and I don't know who comes out on top. I'm picking Rutgers to pull off the upset, but I think that both of these teams leave the game battered and bruised.
Yes. Speaking of Batter and Breeze, I think there was like one show that they were trying to play this and like the equipment wasn't working. So Tom Morello goes out there with the megaphone. He goes, better, better.
That's incredible.
I kid you not. So my friend who's from the opposite part of town from you, my former roommate Ian, during his pledge interview, I'm like, you're gonna play Bulls on Parade Air Tuba for me, and just rock out in the varsity parking lot. So he's like, better.
Hell yes. That's electric.
It was amazing. And mine for Bulls on Parade, that's going to be a Deep South's oldest rivalry with Auburn, Georgia, because rally around the family with a pocket full of peanut shells. This is peanuts and Coke, dude. Peanuts and RC, probably to be more honest with you. And I'm
Oh my
absolutely,
God, I wasn't ready.
and neither is Chief Reese. I'm taking Georgia by a lot.
Oh yeah, same here, brother. Oh, I don't think I made a pick. Oh wait, I did. I'm picking Rutgers in another one. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't like Auburn in any game, really.
No, I don't think Auburn likes Auburn, and I don't think they have a student radio station there. I think they just have guerrilla radio. Who do you have for that song?
Guerrilla Radio, I'm going Utah State at Boise State. Boise State's going to win by a lot. Like, this isn't really a tough pick to make. Let's be clear about that. They're 27-point favorites. I think they cover that number. But this is lights out Guerrilla Radio. Turn that S up. Let's get Ashton Genty another 300 freaking yards in this. We're coming in and we're just absolutely hitting you in the mouth with Ashton Genty, our Heisman candidate.
Yeah, not, nah, 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 nah.
Yes, sir.
Um, so for Grillo Radio for me, I've got Clemson over Florida State because none of the above. Effing cut the cord. I don't really like either of these teams. It's just like you got to pick like it's a bad season for Florida State. Terrible season, quite in fact, and obviously Clemson. We're just self-perpetuating the Dabo cult, and it's that's not good for anybody at all. It's like colony collapse, sort of with a bunch of ants, basically.
Love it.
And when they burn, that you're gonna burn with some bomb track. We're not doing that song, but we're gonna do Sleep Down the Fire.
Yeah, the Iowa Hawkeyes are about to sleep now in the fire as they go to Columbus to play the Ohio State Buckeyes. The one thing I am very confident happening in this game is Iowa's not scoring a damn thing, man. They're going to get this offense is going to be in the fire. They're going to play by far the best defense that they played this year, probably the best defense they will play this year. And I think we're going to see everything that's wrong with the Iowa offense just amplified. It's going to be a bloodbath. And the funny part is, I don't think Ohio State even cares about this game. I think they sleepwalk through this game and still like maybe allow 3 points. Like that's honestly how I see this game playing out.
Gotta put that game behind a paywall. I wish I had that game on here, but I don't. I've got a new Pac-12 rivalry game. I've got
Ooh.
Colorado State, Oregon State, with Oregon State winning because the cost of my desire, sleep down the fire, the cost of Colorado State going to a Power Five program, Power Five league, Oregon State's just gonna throttle them in Beef Town.
Love it.
Beef Town. That just came to me.
It's beautiful.
And after sleeping in the fire, let's wake up. Yeah, for that.
Yeah, as they say, as the Zach De La Roca says in the song, movements come and movements go. And that movement was the UNLV transfer portal exodus as they
Oh
host
God.
Syracuse on Friday night. I'm going with Syracuse to pull off the upset in this game. UNLV is the favorite. I think UNLV is the biggest challenger to Boise State for the group of five spot at this point. Like I think Hodge Malik Williams, the Campbell transfer that they replaced Matthew Sluka with, I think he's better than Matthew Sluka, quite frankly, and adds a little bit more dynamism to the offense with his rushing ability. But I think we're sleeping on Kyle McCord just a little bit, man. Like this Kyle McCord led offense at Syracuse is legit. Their defense not very good. I think this is a game that is going to be a shootout, probably played in the 60s or 70s, but I think that Syracuse just they have Power 5 athletes. Like Fran Brown has done a really good job turning over this roster pretty quickly, and I think that UNLV might not be quite ready for that. When you look at their 4-0 start, it's not been the most impressive competition. So I think this is a wake up call for UNLV, and then it's also a movement that's coming in, a movement that's going.
I love that. Wake up, Syracuse is fun because Jim Boeheim's not there anymore.
That's right. Yeah, we're allowed to have fun now that the Octo's gone.
I mean, it's like that. What's like that 30-year period where Spain was like a communist country. You can wake up now; it's fun again.
That's right. Oh my God.
that, that landed a lot funnier than I thought it
That was
would.
really good. That was good stuff.
Because it was like 50 years, whatever. Who gives it as? Wake up for me is going to be Missouri at Texas A&M because this is an early kick with a lot of implications. It's like 11 a.m. noon. You got to wake up for this because if you fall asleep, you're going to lose. And I'm going to take Mizzou to win this game. I think. Maybe I said
Uh-huh.
A&M earlier. Mizzou is going to win this game. I think they've got a higher ceiling. Basically, Brady Cook just gives
Yes.
the ball to Luther Bird, and then there's not much that like. As soon as they put Connor Wegman out there, they lose. It's like the AJ Smith-Shawver of the SEC. Like, what are you doing?
Dude, yeah, sorry about your Braves. I can tell, I can hear the pain in your voice right there. But no, I'm with you on Mizzou. Like I think this is Mizzou's game. And when we were breaking this game down on Stacking the Box College Football Show, the thing I came away with is like I do think this game is low scoring. I do think it's a bit of a defensive struggle at times. I have way more faith in Missouri with Brady Cook and Luther Burden to find an explosive play or two than I do anyone like whether it's Connor Wegman or Marcel Reed. Like Marcel Reed, I think, has made the offense better, but they're still not explosive. They're still not putting together explosive plays. So I have more faith in Missouri to find those big plays that change the game.
Totally. I don't know if Missouri's Renegade of Funk for me, but it might be for you. Who do you have for that song?
I'm going with the true renegade of funk, which is Coach Sig and the undefeated effing Indiana Hoosiers going to play on a practice field on the lake against the Northwestern Wildcats. They're going to get funky. Curtis Rourke's going to put up a 400 spot. It's going to be 6-0 Indiana Hoosiers for the first time in 70 years. Let's ride.
It's like Belichick's so strange. No matter how hard you try, you can't stop us now. She's getting out of Azkaban.
That's right.
And for me, I've got Alabama over Vanderbilt because no matter how hard you try, you can't stop us now. This is 1000% Kalen DeBoer's favorite song. It's very out of character. He's like, no matter how hard you try, you can't stop us now. The prehistoric ages. And
Yeah.
I wonder if Ryan Williams, instead of writing "Kill Everybody," he writes "Renegade of Funk."
Absolutely. Got to. Got to. That's the next one.
Did you see his like high school senior picture? He's like, I'm just not even supposed to be a senior.
Yeah. Oh my
God,
God.
the guy's a legend. It's like we get to watch Randy Moss all over again. It's so cool.
It's unreal and like uh eh, I think it was Trevor Sickman who also brought this up. I listened to the podcast last night in case you can't tell, but one of the things he was like, Ryan Williams might be like one of the five best receivers in college football, and he's not going to be able to vote in a month. Like that's where we're at.
So the second play in the game that nobody talks about, the one where he like threw it up to himself and caught it. The
Yeah.
only like that reminds me of a play that like Larry Fitzgerald did as a sophomore at Pitt when he went to the Heisman. That was the first time I'm like, what is Pitt? Are you serious? This isn't the Steelers. Like I learned about Pitt
Yeah.
football because of Larry Fitzgerald back in like '03 or something like that.
Yeah, no, I mean it's truly it's next level stuff that we're seeing from him at 17 years old. It would be next level if he was 20. I don't care what age you are. He's unbelievably good.
Absolutely. And it might be a township rebellion when he can't vote at Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But who do you have for that song?
I don't know if they vote in Tallahassee, Florida, but that's where there's about to be a township rebellion because the Clemson Tigers are coming to town. And you know what? We're getting the quarterback change we asked for. Um, I do think it will be better than DJU. That is a low bar because DJU's been arguably the worst P4 quarterback I've seen in a decade. So like I don't like Brock Glenn is what we saw last year was not very good. The fact that he's just now getting the starting job with DJU injured does not give me a lot of faith that he's going to like provide a lot of offense. And when you're in that situation, I do not think the Clemson defense is who you want to see coming to town. So yeah, it might be a little bit of a township rebellion there in Tallahassee.
I hope you can vote. I mean, it's the capital of Florida, man.
It's not whether or not you have like the opportunity. It's about like, can the Florida man vote? Like,
I mean, is this like capital cities where you can't vote? Like, is this Damascus? Is this is this the is this
Constantinople.
the is this the Hague? Are you kidding me?
Oh God, shouts to Tallahassee, the Vatican of North America.
Put that on my tombstone. And I'll end the program with where I started for my township rebellion. I've got Cal beating Miami because Berkeley is the epitome of a township rebellion. They're just going to protest that like they have game day there. I'm sure like as you're trying to write the rankings, it's like there's going to be like an hour long like people are going to try to glue their hands to the stadium or something like, and you're like, I just want to see how far I can knock Miami down the polls here for AP Top 25 and put this stupid podcast embed in there so we get a hell of a ton of views.
And so I can go to sleep because here's the thing. I will be at a different venue on Saturday night. I am traveling back home to North Carolina. Shouts to my people in the western part of the state. Going to be seeing what it's like. I hope everyone's doing okay. But as we go out there, we'll be in a different locale. That's also 2 hours, 2 hours later that I'm going to be up recording the podcast, doing these rankings. And I like this game is the epitome of a game that just drives me crazy because it's going to be longer than it should be. It's going to take forever, and it's going to be a result that's probably closer than it should be. So like it's the worst nightmare for a late night game.
Al football, baby. Gotta love it. This was episode 114 of False Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler18. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sizzle20. You can follow the show at CFB False Start. We're gonna do this differently because we need you people to like and subscribe and do a bunch of other stuff. So, you know, go to Apple, just give us a 5-star review. We'll give you a shout out on the show
Oh yeah.
next time.
If you ask a question in the review, we'll answer the question on the show. Like just we want to have some fan engagement. That's the best way to do it.
If you subscribe on the YouTube channel, we'll give you a shout out on the show. We'll answer your question too. Like,
On top of that, if we get to 30 subscribers, 30, we're 14 away. We're right there. We're knocking on the door. We're getting there. We're building a nice little fan base here on YouTube. But if we do this, I will come on the show in body paint, shirtless, but body paint. I will come on in North Carolina blue body paint for a show, record the entire episode. We'll get it done. And the funny part is it's about to start getting cold as hell in New Mexico here. So I'll be freezing while we do this. But hey, we'll make it happen.
and the worst part is like, you got meetings to go to afterwards.
We'll figure it out.
I mean, I'll dress up for Halloween if we get 31 before Halloween.
There we go. Yeah, and I'm probably gonna dress up for Halloween anyway, but hell yeah, I'll do it too.
Yes. Um, it'll be great. I mean, we could dress up as Jeff Beebe and Russell Hammond. I think that's pretty easy. We don't have to do body paint.
That's right.
That came out of nowhere. I loved it.
I told you, you said think of something for when we're trying to get up subscribers, and I said I'm gonna think of it in the moment, and I was like, what's like the dumbest thing I can do to myself on a video podcast? And it's definitely painting my entire body.
Got my fantasy nights mixed up.
It's same vibes, same vibes.
Be sure to know your enemy, and this is false start.